Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good new topic for you today. Let's do it. Serious. What was an uncanny, creepy, or terrifying moment in your life that felt like it was straight out of a thriller or horror movie? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. One time, there was a bit of activity before this, but it would take forever to type. I was brushing my teeth. I walked out of the room and my instincts went, bro, you need to go back in that room. So I took 3 backward steps into the room to find someone staring in my window. It was after a tornado and they were definitely up to no good. I get goosebumps thinking about it. I yelled, F no, and they ran to their car and peeled out. Driving from Pennsylvania to Arizona a few years back, no hotel stops along the way, just me and 2 friends taking turns at the wheel for a 35-hour drive. We finally cross the state line and enter Arizona after nearly 2 days of straight driving with minimal stops for food, fuel, etc. It's about 1 a.m. and we're running low on gas. The only gas station for miles that is listed as being open online is located about 3 miles inside of Petrified Forest National Park. We don't have any other options. We decide to check it out. My friend is driving, other friend is riding passenger, I'm in the back seat. They're both women, I'm the one male in the car. So as soon as we drive into the park, we're wondering how the hell there's an open gas station in here. It's pitch black, no cars in sight. The park is clearly unoccupied. The only source of light on is our 3-ish mile drive to our destination was our headlights. Miraculously, we pull up to a gas station buried inside the park. There's no attendant, the store is locked, but the pump is lit. My friend pulls over, it's a tight squeeze small gas station, and my friends joke that I should be the one to pump the gas since I'm the only man in the car. It's really because none of us want to step outside. We're all feeling creeped out about the atmosphere we've driven into. I get out, the pump accepts my card, and start filling up the tank. As soon as I start fueling up, we see lights approaching from the distance. Let me restate that there had been no lights whatsoever besides our headlights and the faint glow of the gas pump at the station. We could see the blackness of night stretching for miles in this park. There had been nobody on the narrow road with us the whole time we were driving in. Where were these lights coming from if we hadn't seen them until the second I exited the car? I say to my friends through the window, must be a park ranger. I realize as I'm saying this that I'm verbalizing it to calm myself down rather than because I think it's true. Lights get closer. They're blinding. High beams are on, shining directly at me as they pull into the station. Eventually, they're close enough that I can make out the vehicle. It's a random RV, not a park ranger. I see a man in the front seat, skinny, glasses, mustache, baseball cap, white guy. That's how I remember him, and there's nobody else in the vehicle with him. I assume that he's gotta be in the same boat as us. Tank running low, no place to stop for gas, no choice but to fill up at the park. But he drives around the unoccupied pump and faces his RV in our direction for no apparent reason. At this point, I can see his eyes. We're close enough that I'm looking at the driver clearly as I'm filling up the tank. He smiles at me as he continues to inch his vehicle closer to ours, moving at a speed so slow that it was like he was trying to provoke us. He's getting closer, closer. Why isn't he stopping? He's about to hit us while we're immobilized, and he's driving less than 5 miles per hour. So my friend in the passenger seat builds up the courage to reach over and honk the horn to tell him to stop. The sound of that horn, cutting the tension of the absolute silence of the night, will stick with me forever. At this point, I was looking not only at the RV, but also through the window at my friends. Without words, we're all communicating our extreme horror and confusion at the situation unfolding in front of us. The RV stops just yards away from our car, and the man waves at me again, almost apologetically with a smile. We're not fully fueled, but I know that I'm not comfortable standing at that pump any longer, so I hang it up, hop back in the car. I don't even have to say, let's get out of here. As soon as I close the door, my friend is already starting to move the car. RV guy has, at this point, positioned himself in such a way that it is impossible for us to drive straight out of the station because he's blocking our path forward. Our only choice is to reverse into the forest, i.e. unpaved, non-drivable forest, and angle ourselves out from there. We eventually do it, while the RV guy sits there staring at us, still not moving to exit his vehicle or fuel it. We get out, start driving as fast as we can on that narrow path out of the park, and keep checking behind us to see if we're being followed. We weren't. It looked like the RV turned its headlights off as soon as we left. We didn't discuss what happened until we knew we were 100% safe and back on the highway. When we finally were able to approach the situation, we realized that the RV must have been camped out in the blackness of the forest with its light out, waiting for someone to approach the pump. We would have seen the headlights otherwise. It would have been too black not to have noticed them. We have no idea what would have happened if we hadn't honked that horn, if we had let him slowly inch his way closer and hit our car. Would he have said, "Sorry, let's all get out of the car and check the damage," and then tried something on us? Would he have lured us out in the open so we didn't have the protection of the car? Was he alone in the RV? We will never know, and I'm damn sure glad that we didn't stick around to find out. It's hard to imagine that the person in the RV had anything other than honorable intentions for you guys. It's a good job identifying it and safely getting out of there. Okay, here's one. I've been a cop for 12 years. This happened maybe year 2 or 3. We get a call for a lost child that can't be found at a local Halloween festival at a church. Myself and my partner decide to check the surrounding neighborhood as there are already enough officers checking the festival grounds. This is the beginning of graveyard shift, so 9:30 to 10 p.m. more or less. As we're checking this neighborhood, a small dilapidated house that has a blanket for a front door catches my attention. I notice an eerie orange glow emanating from the inside of the house. When I say house, this place looked like a small shack than an actual house. Myself and my partner decide to check the inside to make sure she didn't wander in here. We announce our presence and get no answer. Being that there was no front door, and the objective being the safety of this girl, we entered the shack. Right when we entered, it was apparent the house had no electricity. That eerie glow was each room and hallway was lit with dozens of glass religious candles. As we walked from room to room, looking for anyone and said child, we kept hearing a constant crunching under our feet. The whole time we were there felt like we had stepped into another world. This evil, surreal feeling was palpable and stomach-turning. We both felt like we didn't belong here. It was eerie. After not finding anyone or anything but empty rooms with candles, I pointed my flashlight at the ground. We soon found out that the crunching we were hearing were thousands of cockroaches all over the floor squirming around. The floor appeared to be moving and alive with insects. Myself and my partner both looked at each other and decided to get out of here. We continued searching the rest of the neighborhood until officers at the festival radioed that the girl was found. Later that night, after ending my shift and replaying the day or night in my head, the whole event kept bothering me. Something didn't seem right about that place and that shack. The roaches on the ground were a horror movie level of an amount. It just felt surreal and wrong. The following day, I went back to the neighborhood during the day, but could not locate the shack anywhere. It was as if it didn't exist. I asked my partner as well if he felt similar to me. He told me he also went to check and couldn't find the place. He said the whole thing kept him up and he couldn't sleep. To this day, that was probably the closest thing I've experienced to the paranormal or high strangeness in my career. Still bothers me to this day. I, then 20 female, was on the outskirts of Boston visiting some friends at their college house with my then 18-year-old girlfriend. She and I stepped away from the party and walked to the corner store maybe 5 blocks away for some cigarettes and chips. We got the sense that we were being followed, so I turned over my shoulder and there was a dude right there, like not a few steps back, like he could have whispered in my ear. My girlfriend grabbed my hand and jumped. I squeezed it back twice to kind of say, relax, even though I was absolutely shitting myself. I chuckled and said, Jesus man, we're a bell or something, you scared the shit out of us, what's up? He laughed and said, nothing, I was going to see if you guys wanted a party. I'm Name, by the way. So I said, yeah, definitely Name. I'm lied, and this is lied again. Where are you headed? This is all while walking, by the way. He said he lived just a bit away, but his car was parked like another 5 or 6 blocks up, and we could drive to his place. So I said, yeah, awesome. We're not from here and looking for something fun to do. My girlfriend is panicking, and I'm nudging her to speak intermittently throughout and this terrifying conversation to seem less sketchy. We start approaching my friend's house, where the party has clearly gotten more rowdy in the last 30 minutes. Still holding my girlfriend's hand, I drop something on the ground. My keys, wallet, I don't remember. Bend down to pick it up, so he's a few steps in front of us, and we bolt up the front steps into my friend's house. We told everyone what happened, and the biggest dude went outside after he heard we were followed by some guy trying to get us in his car. He told him he'd rip his dome off of his shoulders if he ever saw him walk down this effing street again. 6'4" rugby player. I wouldn't show back up, and luckily, he never did. That's a great job of keeping your cool under pressure and getting to a safer area. And also, it's always good to have a giant rugby player to help out. 6th grade school camping trip. I was in a tent with 2 other girls. Early in the morning, barely light out, I was awakened by shouting. Opened my eyes to see the outline of a young man crouching over me and looking back over his shoulder at the tent opening. Before I really understood what was going on, he was hauled out of the tent. Apparently, he had been sneaking from tent to tent and had an axe laid gently next to my head, as it turned out. It was all so fast and I was so sleepy, I never registered that I should be terrified, and my home life was such a nightmare at the time that it never became a thing. It was just, oh yeah, that time I might have been murdered in a tent. So I was dating a girl in my early 20s. We went on a road trip to California when she started displaying symptoms of schizophrenia. She would be normal as F all day, and then all of a sudden just shift in vibe. So one night I'm with her, and we're staying alone in this little building on a farm while doing a work trade. She was having normal conversation with me when, all of a sudden, she freezes and stares past me with a terrified look on her face. It's right behind you. Yeah, F that, man. I was so scared. I look behind me, find nothing, and ask her what she saw. She doesn't explain. Then starts saying bad things about herself and spiraling more and more negative with her thoughts. Then her pupils widen in an instant, like she just got eye drops put in. Then I notice she goes to grab a knife off the side table. I quickly grab her wrist of the hand with the knife and wrestle her down to the ground. I eventually got the knife from her without being able to do anything with it. The craziest part was how strong this person was. I had probably 60 pounds on this 110-pound chick, and she was putting up a hell of a fight trying to keep the knife. Man, that was a road trip from hell. My dad used to work on oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico. One day his harness failed him and he fell into the water. It was a miracle he was saved based on the choppy water and the fact that they used to dump their leftover food into the water. This made sharks an issue. Fast forward to 30 years later when our family went to Puerto Rico. On our first day at the beach, my dad and I got caught in a riptide. We had boogie boards, so when I went under, it wrapped around my neck. My dad was able to make it out and watched in horror as I was beaten by the waves and current. Clearly, I made it out, but it reminded me of the movie Final Destination. Death skipped my dad and landed on me, almost. Death by water, nonetheless. It was the scariest moment of my life, and my wife didn't even know since she was on the shore. Imagine dying on the first day of vacation? LOL. Surviving a man overboard on an oil rig is just incredible, so maybe, but that's wild. A few months ago, I was home alone in my house, sitting in my recliner, dicking around on my phone. The only light was coming from the lamp above my chair and everything else was pitch black. Out of nowhere, I heard a very clear human whistle coming from down the hall where I couldn't see. There was no way this was wind or machinery or whatever. It was 2 distinct notes, one high and one lower, and there was no sliding between them. It was very specifically one note and then the other. My house is haunted AF, so I just kind of let it go because, well, what the F else am I supposed to do? But it was super creepy and would make for a great scene early in a horror movie.